Welcome back to CSC 235 exercise 13 slideshow, and this is part 4, and this is just a little wrap up. Before that version and this version, I tried some different things. I experimented a little bit, and I advise you to do the same. And it seems like no matter what we do, this is the issue here, because whether we put this before or after, if we have the plus 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 before the if, it's automatically going to increment, and it could take us past wherever the array length is. And try to pass a number that's higher, because we're never saying, because we're not at any point saying don't make the number go above 0. So it could be trying to pass a higher number and create a problem here. And we said if x is a less than ss_pics length, which is the array length is 6. So if we're saying it's less than 6, that means it gets to 5, and then we're still adding to it. That's why this little -1 here seems to help. Or you could just do 5. Because our index numbers, remember, are less than our array length. So array length is 6, but our last index number is 5. So that seems to be, so if we put less than 5 here, that would be the same thing as array length minus. But at least if you did array length minus, if you ever change your array, you wouldn't have to change this. You wouldn't have to change your functions. That's the problem with just putting numbers in there. But that's why we just put, so if I did this, let me just save this, and this should work by putting less than 5 in there. If I refresh this again, and if I kind of watch these things over there, it's at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now it's not going any further because we're stopping at 5. If it's less than 5, it's not going to go any further. It's not going to do 5 again. So now when I go back, it goes down to 4, goes down to 3, 2, 1. Because then once I start going down, same thing here, it checks. Is it greater than 0? If it's greater than 0, it starts decrementing. So this kind of removes the chance of doing it twice here from both situations. And it seems like the issue was coming from the next, because it was going up one number too high. So whether we do this or whether we do array length, or however this is called, ss_pics length, however you want to call this, and just -1, then you know that you're always kind of subtracting 1, so it's not adding 1 more. Whether this is before it or after, it was doing the same thing. So what we ended up doing is putting our incrementing in the if statement, saying don't do anything, we'll just check what it is, then we'll either increment, same thing here, if it's greater than 0, then we'll decrement and start going down, and then anything else that's kind of out of there, then we'll just kind of stop the function and won't do anything else. That's why it stops the function and doesn't keep returning values after that. So that works okay. And again, there's different ways to do this. I mentioned in an array there's another method here where you can actually, I'll just do this with one. There's another method here where you can actually do something like this. I'll just paste this in here, where you can do this and say equals new image. You could create an image object, and then you'd have to put like source here, dot source equals the image. Now, and then you'd actually have to have 2 for each image. You'd have to declare the image and then put the source there. And then actually when you did that, you'd have to put like dot source after here if you had to do that. And that just comes from experimenting. But if you look up some things on Stack Overflow, you'll see this method a lot, where they'll actually declare an image. And you might say, well, why? That's, I like things simpler too. But the thing is, by putting this dot source, if you had a very big array, that preloads the images so that they're preloaded, so that if you were online there wouldn't be any delay. We kind of took out that method just to kind of make it quicker. So that's just kind of trial and error and kind of learning things as you go. Maybe it'd be fine until you put it online and you saw you were having some issues with it. So I'm just going to take it outright, and I shouldn't have 2 equals there. That's not what I want. It would be like that. You would just have 2 lines, not 2 equals. So I'm going to take that out right now and just put it back the way it was, because this was simpler and we kind of understood that, and that's the way we did our array the first time. But just keep in mind, if you have a lot of images and they take time to load, we may want to declare an image. And if you just look up, you'll see creating an image object on how to do that. So that's just a little trial and error. A lot of different ways to do this. There's for loops, there's all kinds of things. I'm trying to stay with as simple as possible to do this, and kind of building on things we know already. So when you're done with this, make sure you try out everything. If you have syntax errors, I think I was pretty good with syntax errors here. I didn't make too many typing mistakes. It was kind of doing this. And remember, this thing is called the console, and you should have it in, and there's a developer area if you use Firefox or anything like that too. If you go into Firefox, if I would copy this thing, let's just try it. I'll just go to Firefox, and I'll just paste in the URL here. And there it is. Now, if I want to do in Firefox, if I do Control, they have Inspect too. They have Inspect Element, but also some of this stuff is under Tools. It's under Tools, Web Developer, and they have a console, Web Console in here that'll open that up too. And you could bring it on either side. I haven't used this one. You could do it. Just have to get used to using it. But there's console. Now these have icons, so now I got to find where the console part is. And there's the console. So they have little icons here. So the same kind of thing, just different colors. And so you can see it's working a little bit different in Firefox, but doing the same kind of thing. And this console kind of helps me show what's going on. So that helps me kind of debug some errors as I work with this. So even though it seems like more work, and it even took me work to figure out how to do these. It took me a while to kind of figure out how to return the index number to get it to work just right, to have the right arguments that were in here and all that. That took a little while to get it just perfect. But once I did that, I also wanted to make sure that I had it when the page loads, and then also each time I hit a button, I wanted to have it show up, because that's what's really important. I want to see what's happening when I click a button, and that's what that does. So you kind of gives you a little kind of testing behind the scenes. So that's it in Firefox, same kind of thing. And let me know if you have any. I haven't tried an Internet Explorer. I haven't used Internet Explorer in years. So that's our code. So double check all your syntax and make sure everything's working okay. Make sure everything's saved, your index, your CSS, and your JS, which is in a separate file. And make sure that you're linked to both. Your CSS should be linked fine, and make sure your JavaScript is linked at the bottom. Make sure it has script source. Make sure you have a closing bracket and a closing tag in there, and that it says source and it's going to the right file, which is there. Check your image files, make sure they're going to the right place. When you're in here, make sure they're showing the same path, img, because that's in that folder. And then when you're all done with everything, I'll close these up. If this is my working folder here, there's my working folder. When you're all done, here's slideshow. When you're all done and everything's all saved, then just kind of, however you do that. In Windows, you could do the send to, I think it's send to, and you could zip it. And on a Mac, you could just compress it, and then that's the one you could either send to me, or you could upload it in coursework. If you have any problems, just send me the folder and I'll check it out. That's fine. But if you have problems with that, so that's the end of part 4. That was our little wrap up for our slideshow. We'll try to do one with a timer. So that we don't have to click buttons, and it'll just do it on a timer. That's what we'll probably do next. We'll probably use this same slideshow. So that's the end of EX13.